told you never saw been in trouble with the law since the day they was born.
Welcome to Early Watch. Today is June 5th. I am your host, Dead Horse, and today we have my guest host, Tony, with us. How you doing, Tony?
Good here. Good morning, people.
Oh boy, has it been a long week so far, and it's only Wednesday. What's going on? Feels like it should be Friday. I don't know.
I wish it was.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying.
Not really. I don't care that much about what day of the week it is anymore. It don't matter. Except Sundays has U.S. Farm Report. Beyond that, it don't make no difference to me.
So you don't have a certain day of the week, except for maybe Sunday, that you're really looking forward to or excited for?
Nope.
I have a day of the week right now, and it's Tuesdays because I get a shoot on Tuesdays. So I'm really looking forward to Tuesdays right now. So Tuesdays kind of, I guess, like my weekend right now or whatnot, my fun day. So and it's like that was yesterday, and I wanted to, like, I already want it here again. Oh boy, let's see. Let's get right into it with some 2A news. Uh, I guess I'll put you on the spot, Tony. First, is there anything going on in Illinois? Any updates on anything?
The only thing is that the Floyd thing where they wanted to shorten the time and double, or hell, 5 times the cost of the thing, plus make you have fingerprints. They didn't bring it to the floor, so we're pretty safe here until October. I don't know what's been sent to the governor's desk. Not anything that I've heard, but that could be wrong.
And this is the Floyd card about the extra cost and the fingerprinting and all that, right?
Right, they wanted to take it and raise it from $10 for 10 years to $50 for 5 years, and make everybody get fingerprints to get it. Like fuck, I didn't even have to get fingerprints to get my damn concealed carry.
And some people have already been just fighting the Floyd card in general there, haven't they? Just saying that it's unconstitutional.
There is a case in the courts that is fighting the Floyd's card system because they say it's unconstitutional to have you pay for a right.
Yep. And I've always said that when you pay for a right, it turns into a privilege. So I do believe that's unconstitutional. I do believe they have some ground there to stand on, but what the courts say is a different matter.
Well, as far as our courts go here, the one that hears this shit is fairly middle of the road to slight conservative. I mean, they did rule about the concealed carry stuff. They said they had to do it or it would become constitutional carry. Yeah, court edict. It's not like we're facing a hard liberal court system like they do out in California.
Man, I got an FBI statistic right here that blew my mind. I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
This is from Jacob Paulson back in September of 2018. So this was almost a year ago. This article came out. But it's armed citizens are successful 94% of the time at active shooter events. So have you heard this before?
I have not.
So apparently the FBI did a study, and this is an FBI statistic, and take it for what it's worth. But I guess they were studying active shooter situations and where armed citizens engage the active shooter, and 94% of the time they are successful in stopping the shooter. So it doesn't say, like, if it was like if they killed the guy or if just shooting the guy, like just shooting at the guy is what kind of, there's probably a lot of different factors as far as, what they might consider successful, but I think, you know, what they're considering successful is just that the active shooter stopped killing people, right?
Right. I'm sure that's what it is.
And not necessarily that they killed them or what, not necessarily that the active shooter was killed, but I thought that was just with the shootings that are going on nowadays more and more often, stuff like that, these mass murderers, and I just thought that was just something that, man, like this is the FBI saying this. That might go a long way if you're trying to get maybe your school teachers armed or get something passed locally in your state or county to where maybe your teachers could carry in your workplace, because now workplace murders and stuff are becoming more relevant. So I was just like, man, like what a stat to use from the FBI to maybe throw in some faces there that are anti-gun or whatnot. That's and then like let's look at I'm sure that you could probably dig deeper into that response time stuff like that, but I think there's a lot of data there that's really saying that armed citizens are like the best defense.
Well, they are effective anyway. The thing
I
is,
mean,
I don't.
94%. Like again, take it for what it's worth. I don't know how accurate these statistics are, but it does come from the FBI, so I would like to think they are pretty thorough. I mean that they probably investigated a lot of different events and that to come to that conclusion and that number of 94%.
I just don't get the disconnect from reality that the left has, like the arming teachers thing. We're not asking to arm teachers. We're asking to allow teachers who want to arm themselves. They make it like we're going to give every teacher a
Oh,
freaking
yeah.
gun.
Yep. And that's always has been a right, right? Like we talked about that before. There are a couple, I guess towns that have laws like, oh, you got to have a gun type thing. But even those are just, it's more of a statement than than you really have to. It's not a law that's actually enforced. But yeah, a lot of people think when they hear that, like, oh, arming teacher, like, oh, like every like 90-year-old math, Mrs. Crenshaw, the math teacher, is going to have a gun. Like, no, it's always going to be a personal choice when it comes to private citizens, you know, making that choice on whether that they're capable or should or want to. So there'll always be those people who are, no, I'm not going to carry a gun, or that's just not me, right? Pacifists, I guess.
I wouldn't even be opposed to saying that they need some fundamental active shooter training, or if the school district requires that, I wouldn't necessarily oppose that as long as the school district paid for it.
I think they should. I know.
Right.
I'd be okay with that. I'd be okay with my tax dollars. I would be willing to raise taxes the 1 penny a person or whatever it's going to take to implement a program like that to allow teachers to go get CCWs and training for free. I mean, I would be 100% behind it. Some kind of tax thing like that.
I would too. Uh, I don't know. The left yells so damn loud that people ain't hearing the right very well.
Oh, let's see here. Reason why our for those who probably recognized our opening song this morning was the Dukes of Hazzard, and there is a reason for that. Florida man leads police chase while driving General Lee replica. Wow. Can you imagine? Like what? I mean, can you imagine having a General Lee replica and be like, all right, we're gonna go play Dukes of Hazzard today. It just, it's nothing necessarily to do with 2A or anything. I just thought that was just amusing. I'm sorry. Growing up as a Dukes of Hazzard fan, watching that as a kid, just when I read this, that a guy actually went out and was like, all right, let's like come chase me, please, in a Dukes of Hazzard, in a General Lee replica.
And
I was, what's that?
Just as an adult, think of how many of those things they destroyed.
Oh gosh, yes. Like one every episode, at least one every episode, right? If not 2 or 3.
I have never looked the stats to see, but it was a substantial number of. That was Dodge Charger, wasn't it? Yeah, I'm sure it was. Like a 68 or 69. Just fucking trashing them. I mean, like Smokey and the Bandit, they fucked up several Trans Ams, but those were brand new rolling off the factory. It ain't like they can't get more. Back to, in a very roundabout way, 2A stuff, the deputy school resource officer in Parkland, the Parkland incident, has been arrested and is going on trial for his inaction.
Peterson, right? That was his name, Peterson. So, have you seen the breakdown of the video of that?
All I see is the thing that they just showed on TV today, where he just ducked out of the way, and he was apparently.
They actually have video of it. So they actually have video of this guy. So I watched an animation last night of the actual timeline from the time the very first shot was fired, and until the time the last shot was fired. And in that time span, it was like, I want to say it was only 4 or 5 minutes. I'd have to watch it again to make sure I got the time right. But it wasn't very long at all. It was like 4 or 5 minutes from the time the first shot was fired to the time the last shot was fired. They have video of the Peterson guy basically standing behind like the corner of like one of the buildings, across from the building where the shooter was in. I don't know this guy, of course. I don't know where he was coming from, what his mindset was. A large campus with lots of big buildings, lots of concrete, lots of echoes. There was even calls in on the radio that there was an active shooter on the football field, right? Which is like more than like one building over from the building the shooter was in. So basically a whole separate area of the campus. There was reports of they notified the wrong agency, 911 dispatch did, and he didn't get the call directly to his radio when another guy had found the first shot student. So even after the first shot was fired, you still might not know, is this like firecrackers? Was this like car backfiring? Like what's going on here? But once they found the first student shot, then they knew, right? And the time from the time that they found the first student shot to the time the last shot was fired was even shorter, of course. And that was only like 3 minutes. And but this guy basically within a time span of about 3 to 5 minutes, depending on how you look at it, whether you look at it from the time the first shot was fired or if you look at it from the time that they found the first victim and knew that it really was, what really would, I guess they call it a red alert, or code red. And, so we're talking about a very short time span here, just minutes, right? And I'm not trying to make excuses for the guy or what. I think the guy should have done his job and gone right towards the gunfire. But I don't want to pretend that, like, I'm going to assume that he knew where the gunfire was coming from. I'm not sure if he's come out and made a statement like, "Oh, I knew the guy was in this building, but I just waited here," right? I haven't seen a statement like that from him. So I don't want to try and like pretend that like he even knew where the shooter for sure was. There was a lot of confusion, a ton of 911 calls, just a lot of chaos. And we're talking just minutes here, literally just minutes. And maybe he was thinking like, and the way this campus is set up and this building has multiple exits, maybe he was thinking even if he did know the shooter was in this building, and he's in front of all these other buildings with tons of students in them. Maybe he was thinking like, hey, if I go in this entrance of this building, that guy could be going out the back and then be coming over here to all these other buildings that are unprotected, right? Or some thought process like that. I'm trying to rationalize it because I honestly don't see like an officer, especially in the video. I saw the guy for the first time in the video last night, and he is an older gentleman. It looks like he might be a seasoned officer. I'm not sure how long he was involved with the police force, but I mean, just looking at his age from the video, I'm like guessing like he's probably like a 20-year veteran or something. And I have a hard time believing like someone who's been in law enforcement and who works at a school like that just would know where what building the shooter was in and didn't go after it. Like I have a hard time understanding that. So, what do you think about all that, Tony?
Well, I think he was, as he said, he was following protocol. I mean, you can't know how many shooters were in on that. For one guy to go in, had it been me, I would have tried to find that out, I think. But, I'm not going to crucify the guy for following that sheriff's department's protocol, even though I disagree with it. Everybody can bitch and call him a coward all they want, but until you had the opportunity to run into a active shooter situation, your opinion is just your opinion.
Exactly. And that's why I hear a lot of people are like celebrating. They're like, yes, yes, yes. And I understand a bunch of kids got killed and it was a tragic situation and all this, but I don't want to be throwing an innocent guy or a guy who like just didn't know, because I wasn't there. I don't know where he heard shots coming from or what it sounded like to him or what was necessarily said. There are some facts that dispatch called notified the wrong department, and that is a fact. It is a fact that a shooter was reported on the football field. That's a fact when that kid wasn't there on the football field shooting anyone. So there are some things like that. There's a bunch of confusion, and again, we're talking about mere just minutes, right? Which probably seemed like an eternity to this guy, but I mean, we're literally talking, like how I said, how you look at it, 3 to 5 minutes time, a very, very short period of time there. And, if the guy made remarks, if he made statements or a police report saying, oh, I knew the guy was in this building the whole time, but I just sat here for backup. Now, if he made a remark like that, that changes a lot of stuff, but I haven't heard that or seen that. Maybe someone out there in the chat knows of a source or knows of, maybe a copy of his, if he did a police report on it or whatnot. you know, maybe there's, I haven't dug into this too deep because, well, that's just not something I tend to do is like, oh, let me really research this, you know, mass murder. But,
What I heard was right not a month after the incident or so, where they talked to him, and he said that he was following his department's protocol, which, if that's the case, and it is the case in many cases, that communities don't want to send their officers into an active shooting situation by themselves. Whether it was there, I can only assume so, based on what the guy said. If if that's true, then the guy should really not have any culpability. Uh, but you know, there's so much shit that's unknown. Uh, I don't know. I wouldn't want to speculate. I think the guy, or I don't know that I think it now or not, but I did at the time. I thought he was a fucking coward.
oh, I definitely, when I first heard that, that's the first thing that I was like, oh my God, what a coward, da da da. When I heard this guy being called out, and I don't know all the facts. I don't want to pretend I know. I want to think that because they arrested him and charged him, that they have some good stuff to go by. Like they're, you know. But I've heard a lot of people say that it's a political thing. That the brass basically threw him under the bus, and it wouldn't be the first time brass has thrown like a line officer underneath the bus for a political reason or something. I mean, that has happened in the past.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, like maybe they did. I mean, maybe he was just the scapegoat, so to speak. You know, of this thing. Like they need someone to blame. I don't know, and it's a tragic thing. It is,
As
but
far
I don't want to be too quick to just jump down this guy's throat because again, I haven't seen stuff like a actual report saying like I of what this guy was going through, what he was thinking, what he heard. I don't know. I wasn't him. I wasn't there in his shoes, so I don't know.
you know, the legal analyst, is a young man, probably 30, on today's show was saying that this case is absolutely unprecedented. The first time that he's ever found that they're doing this. And the guy laid it out pretty well that, you know, they're not really doing what is by all the past references. This is something that's never been done. And it sets an awfully dangerous precedent if he gets convicted.
So you haven't seen the animation of the animation and the video cam footage of this, the kind of like the breakdown.
Nope.
Would you like to? Is that something you think that we should show?
That's up to you, man. I don't care. I would
Okay.
speak it out on my own.
Let's see. Let's just do it. Let's go over this. So I'm going to screen share this.
You know, at the end of the day, it comes down to I only know what I've seen on TV about it, so I may be just as fucking full of shit as the next guy.
That's what I'm saying. I just don't want to pretend that I know more than what this officer did, and we're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, right? So I really before I just, you know, God, I hate just like assuming and that oh this guy did the wrong thing or whatever when I wasn't there. All right, so this is I'm going to start it here at 1minute and 7 seconds, and I will throw this link out there in the chat for people to watch this. But I'm starting it at 1minute and 7 seconds because this is when the first shot was fired. So we're going to kind of gloss over a lot of this video, and we're just going to kind of look at from the time the first shot was fired to the time the last shot was fired. So this is the this is the murderer right here in the black dot. This Medina and the purple dot right here is a, what do they call him? Basically like a truancy officer, I guess. Something like that, right? I can't remember what they said. This McKenna, I think McKenna was the first person that saw him with a gun, I think. I think that's who McKenna is, was like the first person that saw, like actually saw him carrying a gun. It's a student up here. And this person's a truancy officer, not a police officer. Just he's basically a teacher who rides around on a golf cart looking for students, like skipping class. So he's not an armed police officer or anything, this Medina person. So Heinrich over here, I think this might be a police officer over here. I can't remember. But we're going to keep track of mainly Cruz and then Peterson, because that's what this is really about. This isn't about the murder. I just really want to keep track of the murderer and the officer. So the officer's doesn't know anything, nothing yet. So we'll start playing this. So Cruz fires his first shots. Now keep in mind Medina's still driving away. These little orange things right here are the security cameras and which way they're pointed. It is, and you know where they're covering is what the orange squares show here. So Feast is the first guy over here that comes in contact with the student. This is, I guess, another teacher or something. Finds the first student that says, hey, there's a guy with a gun. So, you know, keep in mind shots are being fired this whole time. So here's the first 911 call comes into play. And let's see here. So this is the first 911 call that's coming in. Here's Peterson over here. So he's all the way across the campus over here. This is video of him right here. This is Peterson right here in the uniform. And he definitely looks like a seasoned veteran right here. Oh, hold on 1 second. I gotta pause this. Okay, sorry about that. I just had some background noise there. Okay, here we go. So this is Peterson. So calls are coming in. Tons of 911 calls are starting to roll in. Peterson meets with these guys. They're trying to figure out where the shooter is. Athletic director Chris Hickson enters the west side of Building 12 and is shot. So he was one of the heroes that actually went towards the gunshots. Is this athletic director Hickson guy? I guess he shielded students with his own body. So here comes Peterson over here towards Building 12. He's in the golf cart with two other guys. So they come over here. Cruz at this time, I believe, is on the second floor in Building 12. The students are running. These guys are talking like what to do. This is Peterson's radio. He's saying that there's shots fired, shots fired. So Peterson reported that, you know, that he heard shots fired. Now here's Peterson right here. You can see him in the security footage. He stands right here behind this corner of this building. And now it has been 2 minutes and 25 seconds since the first shot's fired. So if I go back just a second here, from the time he actually came to the building, though, it had already been 1 minute and 45 seconds by the time he got over to this building, from the time the first shot was fired. So it took him 1 minute and 45 seconds to basically even get to the building. So if we go back forward, let's see. So here's Peterson, and this is pretty much where he stays the entire time, from the first shot to the last shot. He basically stays right here. Here he is in the green circle right here. I believe this the cruise guy is now on the 3rd floor of the building. So there's I think that right about now, I think there's reports coming in that there's a shooter over on the football field. Let's see here. Yep, shots fired by the football field right here. So they're talking about shots fired at the football field. So now we're 3 minutes and 40 seconds into it. So let's see here. So let's find when the last shot's fired. Let's see, where was it at? Wasn't that long. Let's see. I think it was right about now. It should come up here on the screen here that the last shots were fired. I think here pretty soon. I think it was even farther back than that. So we got the shots fired by the football field at 3 minutes and 30 seconds into it, 2 minutes after he basically gets to the building over here. So right now, so this is 3 minutes and 51 seconds into it. This is about 2 minutes after he gets to building 12. He reports that the shooter is in building 12. I guess he can finally tell that the shooter is in building 12. But at this time, I think that his last shots were fired here. Let's see. Okay, Cruz attempts to shoot out the windows of the teacher's lounge windows. Let's see. All law enforcement areas. Let's see. I'm trying to find let's see. He enters the stairwell. Trying to find the timestamp here of when the actual last shot was fired. But it was like 4 minutes. This whole thing took place in 4 to 5 minutes. If you minus the 1 minute and 30 seconds it took him to get over here to this building, you're talking about 3.5 minutes. So he has about 3.5 minutes until the last shot is fired that he sits here. I'm not sure the size of these buildings we're talking about. I know that this is a 3-level building, so it's 3 floors. But like, I don't know. Like you have 3.5 minutes. I guess you're sitting there thinking about what to do or what should you do, or I mean, I don't know how do you look at that? Is that like just like, is that forever, or is that just like not anything at all? Is that super fast, or?
Well, usually in that kind of situation, time slows, the perception slows. But there's one thing there that I saw that makes me question the whole damn works. And that's they went to that building on the golf cart you said is riding.
Yep.
And then backed off.
And then backed off. Yeah. Well, I was wondering why they backed off. Like, could that have been maybe echoes shooting out windows, or shots coming out of a window and then hitting something, or because he did shoot at windows out at one point for sure. He shot out the teacher's lounge windows. So that is for sure thing. but I don't know. I don't know how easy it would be if I was surrounded by a bunch of concrete buildings on a campus like that, and shots were going off inside one building. I don't know. I really don't know what that sounds like. I mean, I don't even know if I would know if I'd be able, I don't know how obvious it would be. Like maybe someone else has that experience and has that, knowledge, like, oh yeah, you can easily tell which building it is, right?
Oh,
I'm not sure.
the Vegas thing proves that the buildings around are a problem for identifying where gunfire's coming from.
I guess that is true. I didn't even think about that. Like they had a really hard time finding like what what hotel and what floor and all that, right? The Vegas shooting.
What they said.
Mm. Well, I hope they do a thorough investigation. I hope this guy's not a scapegoat, and I hope if he really failed in doing his duty, and that they decide that he really could have done something and that he should have done something, then I hope I hope he gets punished for it. If if they find out that if it comes out that there was a more confusion than what we know about, I'm sure some of the other people there. I'm wondering if it's some of those other people there that were in the golf cart. They might know. The other resource officers, they might know. They might be like, oh yes, he's in this building. Like we all know he's in this building, and so they obviously know some stuff we don't. Hopefully they do, or they're just using him as a scapegoat for political or whatever reason. So I just hope that we're doing this for the right reasons. I hope there's actual evidence showing that he really was guilty of this and that he really did chicken out, and because of him there was more loss of life. I hope they really have that evidence against him and not just are just using him as a political tool to further an agenda and just as a scapegoat.
Seems a long fucking way down the road from using that as a scapegoat. That's not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying, I think that they would have done that while everybody was still tending wounds, so to speak. I don't know, man. I don't really trust much in the way of politicians from anywhere.
Well, yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be the first time something like this has kind of happened, and like I said, like a higher up brass has used officers and thrown them underneath the bus. I mean that really has happened before. So I don't know.
For the little snippets, the video that I've seen of the guy, he looked like he was doing what he said he was doing.
And I don't know his thought process. Like I said, maybe it's such a big campus. He was waiting for other people to get there to make sure he didn't miss this guy. Because what if as he's going in the front door of this building after the shooter, what if that's when the shooter decides I'm going out the back door and now I'm going to this next building or something? So maybe he was thinking like, hey, that's one building. I have these other 12 buildings here. It's so large and it's set up in a way I could easily miss this guy, right? If I go into this building, I could easily miss him leaving that building, and then he could easily be entering other buildings, and so maybe his idea was like, I got to protect these other 10 buildings over here, and I don't know his thought process, and I don't want to pretend I do. I really hope that a lot more comes to light during this, and I'm sure it's going to probably be a long, dragged out thing. I'm sure it's probably going to get a lot more news, and we'll probably be hearing more and more stuff as the story moves on. But I don't want to just instantly just throw this guy under the bus and say that, that he didn't do his job, because I don't know what he heard. I don't know what all was going over the radio. I know that there was a bunch of confusion, a bunch of hysteria. It was chaos, right? Let's face it, like that whole scene, everything that was going on, calling in people calling in shooters where there weren't shooters. Just, I mean, there was chaos. Like when you think you have a shooter in building 12, even if he knew he had a shooting in building 12, and all of a sudden calls are coming in saying there's a shooter also on the football field. Like, which one do you go after? Like, which one do you like? I mean, what do you do? I don't know.
Now, if you look at that video where he's shooting out the teacher's lounge windows, those gunshots would have probably sounded to that cop like they were coming from the building, just on the what would be left side on that animation of 12.
Yes, I mean, I've heard gunshot sound and even just all sorts of loud bangs come from places they did not come from. Just from echoing either off mountains, canyons, trees, like concrete, stuff like that. So I definitely know sound can fool you, and you know, it can easily fool you and make you look a direction that it didn't come from. And so I just can't imagine. I have never been to that campus. I don't know what it's like. Maybe some other people have that experience and can tell us that easily. You can tell in a thing like that with a bunch of concrete buildings, it's still super easy to tell. I don't know. I've never shot a gun in you know, in an area like that with inside buildings and with other buildings around and listened from the outside what those sound like. So I have no clue like what this guy heard, and then this all the confusion and this reporting of shooters that weren't there in places that he never was. That's got to throw a whole nother mix into it too, right? Because now if you're thinking it's more than one shooter, and you think there's two or possibly even more, does that change your tactics? Would that change like a bunch of other cops from charging into that building to like, hey, there might, you know, I might not only be outgunned here, but you know, there might be like 3 or 4 guys.
You know, and the thing is he may have been uh, there without armor on or anything like that to protect himself, because you know how much of your Florida day inside or outside of buildings on campus are you going to want to wear body armor? I mean, really, it's
Especially any kind of body armor that's going to stop a rifle round. You're talking then either steel or ceramic at that point, not no soft armor. You know, no soft armor stopping no rifle round. So, you know, I don't know. He was definitely outgunned, even on a one-on-one fight. That officer was outgunned. That's apparently obvious, since he just had a little sidearm. But you know, if you think that there's 2 or 3, does that change thing? If you think there's 2 or 3 shooters, if you're hearing gunshots echo and there's police reports being called in that, you know, 911 calls saying there's a shooter on the football field and a shooter here, and I don't that whole place was chaos, and I don't want to say like the guy like didn't do his job, because I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know what he heard, but this will come more to light because I think some of these other teachers and other people that were there around that officer are going to be able to tell the story like, oh, we all knew where he was. He for sure, like even they'll be able to say Peterson knew he was there. You know, Peterson failed to act. Like that's what I'm thinking probably happened for this guy to get charged is, you know, some of those guys he was riding with in the golf cart, if they stepped forward and said, hey, like we knew where he was the whole time and we knew it was only one guy, and then he still failed to act, that changes things.
I don't think they could know it was one guy.
That's what I'm thinking.
Not at that point.
That's what I'm thinking. And
I mean, let's face it, the Supreme Court has said that officers have no duty to protect civilians.
Now, here's the thing. So it's not uncommon for a mall or a rock concert or something to hire a police officer as security a uniformed police officer that doesn't wear a security guard uniform that shows up in his law enforcement outfit, right?
Yeah.
So that is not uncommon whatsoever. And I'm wondering, what if they had a contract with this guy, a private contract that where the actual school district was paying this police officer to be there, and not getting paid from the police department. Now, does that change the duty to protect thing, because it would be a private contract at that point, right?
From the field of contract police work, no, we don't.
So even if you have a private contract, like you get hired to protect a rock concert or a school or something, that you still don't have a duty to protect.
Now, this is 25 years in the past, but back then, no, we did not.
Because that's what I was. Because that's the first thing that came to my mind is like, oh, the Supreme Court has already ruled that they have no duty to protect. So, like, why? How could they even be charging this guy? Right? That's the first thing that came into my mind is like, how could they even be charging this guy since the Supreme Court has a ruling on that? And then I was thinking, oh, maybe it's something in like the private sector. It's he was privately hired by the school district to do this, and maybe that's how they're charging him, or why they're able to charge him. I'm still confused on that.
But I can flat tell you that when we worked in the courthouse, if you encountered active shooter situations there, you were goddamn well expected to go towards the gunfire. But there's a lot of gray area in the Fed stuff, because they can completely overlook the rules of how long a person can be on this job, or how many hours a person works in a week. You can work 7/24 for the feds and they won't get in trouble because they're the feds.
And he definitely looked like a seasoned guy to me. I mean, he had gray hair. He was an older guy. He's definitely probably going to have some experience behind his belt. I have such a hard time believing that this guy man, I don't know. I'm really looking forward to more to come out on this. And like I said, if they really find out that this guy failed to do his duty, and it cost lives, then I hope he's punished. But if it comes out that it was just mass confusion and they didn't know what was going on, they didn't know where, they didn't know who and how many, and then I don't know, that paints a lot different picture. And then I don't necessarily think the guy should be thrown under the bus for that. I really don't. I just, we all like to pretend like, oh, if I was in his shoes, I would do this and this and this, right? Well, hindsight's always 20/20. And it's really easy to, when you're not in that situation, to try and pretend that you know exactly what you would do and where you'd go and how you would handle it, That's always really easy to pretend that, that we know that. But like you said, until we're in that situation, it's really hard to say like how it's going to play out and what's going to go down. It really is.
I have went to investigate gunshots several times for the feds, but there was, usually it was gang stuff, and the closest I ever seen it was across the street from the building that I was in. And even that's kind of unnerving. But I could get to the door and see out the bulletproof glass that it was somebody across the street shooting at somebody else, or me. And I absolutely had no authority to intervene.
All right, so let's see here. Let's see, I have another story here. So this one's not necessarily 2A related, but I've heard a lot of talk here in America about Civil War and stuff like that, a new civil war. You've heard talk like that, right, Tony?
Of course.
Of course. So this just really stood out to me because I follow several people from Canada. I guess pro-gun people from Canada, and one of them took a picture of a great big huge billboard in Canada that says, "Is Trudeau leading us to civil war? Vote Wexit.com." And I think this has something to do with like part of Canada wants to break away from another part of Canada because of just all what's going on in Canada. I'm not sure if it's like what little I don't even know what they call them, their state or whatever, but you know, one part of Canada wants to like break off from another part of Canada, and now Canada's talking about civil war within Canada. So, I mean, is that is civil war? Is that a possibility in a first world country in like Canada and America? Is that ever going to happen, or is this a fear tactic or fear mongering?
I think both. I mean, is civil war possible? Yeah. Uh, is it likely? No. Uh, there's probably no way to win it from either side. Like, say we split here and went fighting. You know, they back when we had our civil war, there was no real reparations or anything like that charged to the South because they want to uh, have them be part of the country again. So there's a huge outlay of cash that we don't fucking got to do it in the first place. And if we did do it, they couldn't charge reparations because, one, we're not really a country. We're just a group of citizens banded together to go against our government. And I don't know. I think it's so fucking unlikely. It's not hardly worth talking about.
You know, I kind of agree. I really do that I don't think it's a thing. I think it is like a fear mongering, like scare tactic that either one side or the other uses, and they probably both use it, probably both benefit from it. But I think it's that whole like we need to create divide, right? Like let's divide and conquer. That is a legitimate strategy, and
Now,
they need to.
do I think there will be conflict? Yes, there already has been. The whole Bundy thing is an example of that. The problem with the Bundy incident is he was technically violating the law. And
Are you talking about the rancher?
yes,
Okay. You want to break that story down just a little bit for some people who may not be aware of what went on there?
this is the Reader's Digest extremely abridged version, but Cliven Bundy was rancher out west. I don't know where the hell it's at now, Idaho, I think. But it looked like desert country. Anyway, he grazed on government land, paying fees to do so. They come in and some part of it they wanted to take away to protect some sort of freaking mouse or some shit like that and raise the rent paid on that land by an exponential amount. He's like, fuck that, I ain't paying it. So for several years he didn't pay it. And they finally said, well, fine, we're going to confiscate your shit, mainly cows. So they come to start that, and the Bundys got backup from a lot of people to stand against the government. And finally, the government had backed down.
Well, that did go to the Supreme Court, and he won at the Supreme Court, though. So after the government backed down, that still went to court, went to the Supreme Court, right? And he won. So he did win that case, and the Supreme Court determined he was right in that case.
That is where I think our saving grace on 2A is in the Supreme Court.
Well, if we can ever get the vampire out of there, yeah. Once she goes, that opens up another spot. So, I mean, that's what really needs to happen is we need to limit the supply of fresh blood going into there. Open up the curtain and shine some daylight. And then maybe, yeah, then if we can get one more pro-gun person into the Supreme Court, I think that'll say a lot. That'll do a lot. What I'm worried about is the person who's going to be nominated to the Supreme Court next, is that going to be a pro-gun person? I don't know. How long can Ruth Ginsburg hold out? Can she hold out until this next election year, until after this next election?
Well, I would imagine that person that is next nominated is that woman who is considered with whoever the last one, I can't think of his name. And she's more conservative than he is, so she would have been my first pick over who the hell's the guy that got the grilling from Ford? Got screwed by Ford. It ain't Garland.
That might be it.
Fuck. Any rate, the lady justice, or I don't know if she's a justice or just a judge. Either way, she's in her history, she's been more conservative than the last guy was.
So I got some news coming out of Spokane, Washington. So, Spokane, Washington sheriff won't follow sanctuary laws signed by anti-gun Governor Inslee, who is now running for president. I was in the U.S. Army. My rifle was never called an assault weapon. They passed this initiative to create the definition to include every semi-auto in the state. I-1639, which is being challenged in federal court on constitutional grounds, strips young adults from 18 to 20 years old from enjoying their Second Amendment rights. So this is a sheriff that needs all of our support. We had a talk about this last night on the Daily Gun Show about trying to go out of our way to support those states that are really under attack right now. A lot of us are sitting in pretty free states that aren't having anti-gun legislation being pushed through right now. So we're basically sitting on our thumbs, and we're saying stuff like, oh, I hope California falls into the ocean, or California is lost, or da-da-da. But the truth is this anti-gun legislation and these anti-gun bills, they spread like a disease. They're like a cancer, okay? So I'm sure people in Oregon and Washington, just as little as 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, I bet those guys were laughing at California too and saying, that sucks. That'll never happen here. Like I had family that moved to Oregon, and they told me about how wonderful and pro 2A Oregon was, right? And then that literally changed a year later. And
now pro 2A stuff will never happen in Illinois. I can tell you that. Not without court intervention.
You're never going to you don't have any pro 2A sheriffs there that are saying we're not going to support these laws, or sanctuary cities that are popping up and stuff like that.
Well, no, we have a couple of sanctuary cities and just a few sanctuary counties. Last county was 63. This is where it all started, right here in Illinois. Yeah, my local sheriff won't enforce that shit. He's already said that.
Yeah, and we need more sheriffs to stand up and say, If the sheriffs and the police don't enforce these laws, that takes the power away from these anti-gun lawmakers and politicians. It does. It strips their power. It shows like, hey, you made this unconstitutional law. We're not going to enforce it. So basically, it's useless, right? And I think that especially those of us that are in pro-gun states that are not under attack right now, we need to be helping these states that are under major attack, like Washington, Oregon, California, Illinois, New York, and I'm sure there's many more, Massachusetts. I'm sure there's many more, but we really need to be going out of our way to maybe copy and paste a quick letter, even a short sentence. Thank you for not supporting this bill. Thank you for doing the right thing, right? To the sheriff. I mean, I think
right
that. Yeah, go ahead, Tony. Now, I think sending just a simple letter like that to a sheriff like this, who's sticking his neck out for the people. I mean, he really is. He doesn't have to. He is sticking his neck out. He's doing the right thing. So when we see, whether it's a politician, a mayor, a governor, a sheriff, when we see these guys putting that, possibly their career on the line to do the right thing, I think they deserve our support. The least we could do is send them a letter, send them an email, make a phone call, and thank them for that. I think that would go a long way to really let them know that there's a bunch of people out there, and you don't have to live in Washington to appreciate what this sheriff is doing for Washington. I mean, you don't. And so I want to be more proactive at doing that. I want to be better at doing that because I really do see this anti-gun legislation, these politicians, I see it spreading like a cancer. And, so we have to treat that. We have to nip it in the bud, because if we just say, okay, well, California's lost. Well, now Oregon's lost. Now Washington's lost. Then it's going to be Montana. Then it's going to be the Dakotas and Idaho, then Utah. Nevada's come under attack recently, and Arizona. And it's just going to keep spreading from state to state to state like a cancer. It really is. That's the way I see it going down. So I think that when we do see people, if you have some money to throw at Firearm Policy Coalition and Gun Owners of America and stuff, that's great. But I think it goes a huge way to actually letting the people that are on the ground, that are sticking their neck and their careers out there, I think it's really important that we show them support and let them know that you are doing the right thing. We support you 100%.
Just incidentally, the GOA and the Second Amendment Foundation cost $20 a year to be a member.
Like for some people, that's like 2 cups of coffee. That's like 2 Starbucks coffee.
Now,
right?
Granted, you get the send us extra money letters from them, not as frequently as from the NRA, but more frequent than I like. But I mean, if you're pissed off at the NRA for what's going on there, then, the GOA and the Second Amendment Foundation and others are on the ground doing the fights. So the money would probably, and because I can't look at their books to have 100% certainty, be better spent on those 2 organizations than the NRA.
I would definitely agree with that, especially right now with the misappropriation of funds. Honestly, like when I see groups like Wounded Warriors and all that, and their CEOs are making millions of dollars off of these donations and being paid millions of dollars to run this company. I'm sorry, I don't think anyone's worth $1 million to run a company, or especially in something that's supposed to be a nonprofit organization. I think that just goes against everything that a nonprofit organization is supposed to stand for, or a proactive group or a activist group. That's just, there's no reason why someone needs to be, buying $60,000 suits and stuff like that with this money.
As I sit here, I am a member of the NRA and I intend to stay a member. But I do not like what's going on, so I came up with the idea last week that when they send you these send us money letters, take the postage paid envelope they send you and stick in a note of some sort expressing your displeasure at what's going on at the NRA and sending it to them, making them pay the postage back. I don't know what good it'll do, but it's something.
I think that is a fantastic idea. Honestly, I really do. When you said that, I really liked that. I was like, oh, that is awesome. I mean, that is. Oh, let's see here. So, have we talked about the Pennsylvania stop and frisk?
No.
So the PA State Supreme Court ruled that it's unconstitutional to stop and frisk for firearms.
Excellent.
So, yeah, so that was a good PA win, and that went down in Harrisburg, PA, on May 31st, so 4 or 5 days ago. They issued a 53-page majority opinion in the criminal appeal of the Commonwealth versus Hicks. The Firearms Policy Coalition and the FPF, Firearms Policy Foundation, I guess, brought up this suit, and they're the ones who did this battle in Pennsylvania for us. And they got the Supreme Court to rule that it's unconstitutional to stop and frisk for firearms.
Excellent. I guess I'm going to have to check out the Firearms Policy Coalition too. If they're like $20 also, I'll have to send them money.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and granted, I mean, like, for a lot of people, that's just like saying, okay, I'm not buying Starbucks for 2 days, right? I mean, it's really not that much. Let's see here. We also have, oh gosh, and I always thought of Maine as a pro-gun state. Like, is Maine? Go ahead, Tony.
Said it used to be.
Yeah, I got a story here that Maine representative justifies gun control laws because seeing a man with hand in his pocket scares her.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
So Representative Victoria Morales told the Maine legislature's Judiciary Committee last Friday that seeing a man with his hand in his pocket enter her children's school was terrifying, and one of the reasons the Maine legislature should pass gun control laws.
I hope the fuck this bitch gets shut down right away, because hand in pocket, are you fucking kidding, lady? Most of us don't carry a gun in our pocket.
And how would that stop, even if you passed the gun control laws? How does that stop anything? I mean, they just don't understand. I mean, the logic is just impeccable with these people.
That woman is mentally unstable. That's irrational fear. Hands in pocket? Are you fucking kidding?
Yeah. She saw a man walk into her kid's school with a gun in it, or with a hand in his pocket. And she instantly said, like, "Oh my God, that guy has a gun." Like what? Oh my gosh! Just.
Let me guess. She wants to ban AR-15s.
Oh, she wants to ban everything. Yeah, like she wants to ban everything. I'm sure she wants to ban everything. I mean, I know, but there is one good. So here's a little public service announcement. So a lot of people don't know, us Republicans, we have a secret plot to make liberals look like idiots, right? And that plot's what?
We don't need a plot to make them look like idiots. They do that well enough on their own.
We have a secret operation to make them look like idiots. It's called Operation Just Let Them Speak. So, and it's working. That's the good part, is it's working. So just let's continue to let these people speak, and I think that they'll bury themselves. I mean, let's just like give them the mic, let them speak, because they say such just irrational stuff that I have a hard time even seeing some of this, the lowest witted people, believing it. I really do, because it's the stuff that's coming out of these guys is just asinine right now. Oh, let's see. What other 2A news stories do I got here? Okay, so we just had let's see. We just barely had Every Second Matters this month on Sunday.
Yeah, I just wiped down my 629, put it back.
What's that, Tony?
I said I just wiped down my 629, put it away.
Put it away.
I carry it on second when I remember to.
So I got an important message from about Every Second Matters from 2020 America Matters over on Instagram. It goes like this. It says, why would anyone support a politician that makes it difficult to protect your loved ones? Every Second Matters on the 2nd of the month is about promoting Second Amendment awareness, and self-defense is a right in our Bill of Rights. Ask your family and friends if they are prepared to be the first responder and the first line of defense for their family to survive, if or until help gets there. We must fight for our rights together. Refuse to be a victim. I really like the messages that this guy puts out there, and that was his message for Every Second Matters, so I just really wanted to share that. And I'd really like to have this guy on. On a chat sometime. I really would. He puts out impeccable content. So if you guys aren't following 2020 America Matters over on Instagram, I highly suggest you go over there and follow him. And keep in mind, when 2021 rolls around, like, he'll be switching up his name every year. He switches up his name to the following year.
Although we've never had interviews on the Early Watch, I'm not opposed to the idea if you get him on.
Yeah, especially someone who's just consistently putting out good 2A content and really trying to promote the 2A and promote Every Second Matters and promoting freedom. I mean, the stuff he's doing over there is really, it's one of my favorite Instagram pages. It really is. I mean, it's not just, the page isn't about him, like, who or her, I guess. I shouldn't assume it's a him. The page, when you look at their page, it's obviously not about them at all. They're not trying to get famous or whatever off of this. They're trying to spread this message, and I respect that so much.
Message him and ask him to be a guest on the show.
So here's another one they posted just a couple days ago, and it says, so 911 or your phone is not working. Maybe a lightning strike or a power outage took out a cell tower, or 1,000 other things happen. What is your plan when no one is coming to save you? These are the cards you were dealt that day. What is your plan to survive a attack on your family? Take charge on your own security. Get armed and trained. It's a proven strategy to win and survive, and it's your right. Every Second Matters on the 2nd of every month. It's a Second Amendment awareness on the 2nd of the month. Refuse to be a victim. So I'm really appreciating these messages.
Now, just to throw out something, if you're one who relies on the police to protect you, what happens if you have a catastrophic event in your area and the police are busy?
I think we can all point to, like, Hurricane Katrina and some other natural disasters at that exact situation. I mean, you can find plenty of documented events where people had to defend themselves with their firearms during Hurricane Katrina, whether it was from looters or people trying to steal their resources, what little water or food they had or whatnot. But that's definitely a real thing, and the police were not there, and they were not coming.
Yeah, like where we're 700 miles from, we're going to get hit by a significant hurricane. And yes, they do make it here, but they're just rainstorms by the time they get here. A tornado goes through your town. The cops and all the rescue people are going to be involved with doing that should some intruder decide to molest you to get your stuff, whatever. Use your freaking imagination. How quickly do you think the cops are going to be able to get there if they're busy? The stupidity of this stuff is just beyond me.
No, I agree 100%.
I'm
So
not saying everybody should carry a gun. There's lots of people who don't have the temperament for carrying a gun. But to not have a gun and be familiar with it enough to defend yourself or your family just makes absolutely no freaking sense to me.
And I think it's all part of that indoctrination. Like, how early are these anti-gunners getting to kids and getting into kids' minds and demonizing guns and weapons? And then when you grow up hearing something so much, you're going to believe it, right? When you grow up in communist Russia, you think America is evil, right? You think America is the evil of the world. I mean, because you're indoctrinated into that, right? And it's not unless you actually somehow got out of that or took it upon yourself to do research or whatnot that you might find out it's a different way. But it really comes down to this whole brainwashing thing that they're really instituting younger and younger and younger ages. I remember.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I remember when the DARE program, the whole drug education program that was going through the schools, that first started when I was in school. And I remember that they actually came in and actually talked about firearm safety as part of that program, and about what to do if you found a gun and all that. And it actually had, even at the very beginning, an anti-gun tendency, like, oh, guns are evil, guns are bad, like if you see a gun, like, oh my gosh, like, and it started out like that, and it's got to the point now to where it's just like, oh, if you see something, say something, like, if you see a guy with a gun, you just call the police. Well, like, people are allowed to have guns, like, that's
if you see a guy with his hand in his pocket,
right, exactly, that's what it gets to.
Shit.
Well, let's see here. I have a
the thing is we can do our part to fight a lot of this by, and I'm talking to parents specifically, by inviting our kids as friends with their parents' permission, of course, to go to the range.
Exactly. Just ask your son or daughter, hey, like, you have any friends, and a friend that might want to come hang out with this Saturday, you want to take a friend with you, like, oh, let's get his mom's permission or his dad's permission or whatnot. That could definitely be a thing. I know I've taken a lot of my three sons' friends and stuff out shooting, or girlfriends even, and stuff like that. So I mean, that is a real thing. And a lot of them, you'd be surprised that even out in the country, in the most pro-gun county in America, that how many youths are like, oh, I've never shot a gun before. I've never done this. I've never even held a gun. Like, you'd be surprised at how many kids I've taken out that, they'd never even been around a gun, even held a gun.
That very thing is why I'm probably gonna buy a rimfire AR, because my daughter's moving and taking hers with her, just so that I can show these kids that they're not scary.
Nope, not at all. So let's see. I do have a public service announcement from Jordan Howard I would like to throw out there. So for all you people out there, listen up. This is a really, really important one. So Moms Demand Action sounds like it's a hookup app with chicks with kids, but it turns out it's just a group of women who hate freedom. So keep that in mind, everybody, that Moms Demand Action is not a hookup website with single moms with kids.
Well, it's more likely a group of mothers who ain't getting it, so they're focusing their frustrations elsewhere.
Now, really, I think the thing about that group is just a bunch of soccer moms with too much time on their hands. Stay-at-home moms that feel like they need to do something. I really believe that. Like, none of those Moms Demand Action women I've seen have jobs. They're all stay-at-home moms. Like, there is a very common theme between those women, and it's that they're all stay-at-home moms. They don't do anything, and these moms are not only just stay-at-home moms, but they're like pampered stay-at-home moms where they have nannies come in to raise their kids for them. And like, if you actually dig into these women and look, like, there's a very common theme that not only are they pampered women and they're come from a rich family, or their husband's rich or whatnot, but they don't have anything to do. They feel like they need a rallying cause to feel like they're doing something or helping the world.
That's what I'm saying, man. Their husband needs to step up and do his part. Stop working all the fucking time. Stay away from the bitch.
Oh shit! Their husbands are probably just glad that they're not bugging him. I don't care what you do. Just quit bugging me.
That's what I'm saying. They need to do their part. I can assure you, my old lady's never considered going to a 2A or anti-2A rally or any bullshit like that.
See, I have another one I want to talk about here. So I saw this picture posted, and it shows President Ronald Reagan next to Barack Obama. And it says, one of these men banned open carry in California and banned the sale of automatic weapons in America. The other guy is Barack Obama.
I don't understand the holding Reagan up as the beacon of freaking freedom, because he ain't. Was he a better president than a lot? Yes.
He was definitely very likable, I'll tell you that.
He was not a super pro 2A guy. But then, too, he got shot. Somebody who worked with him got shot, too, and permanently damaged. And people knee-jerk react too much.
And do you think that was a direct cause of why that went down, is because he got shot?
Yeah, I think so.
So I saw a thing about this took place, like, it was real. I don't know how soon after, but it was pretty soon after. He was speaking in front of a crowd, and a balloon popped. A large bang went off. Like, he didn't even flinch, and he goes, "You missed me." Have you seen that?
I have not.
Oh, it's great.
To think about it now, if he did anti-gun shit in California, then that would have absolutely predisposed what I just said.
Yeah, while he was governor. So he banned open carry in California while he was governor. And I'm not sure if he did any other anti-gun stuff. I'm not sure if he did any pro-gun stuff, honestly. I mean, when Reagan was president, I was really young. I mean, gosh, I was like 10 years old by the time he got out of office or something. So, I don't necessarily remember all what he did. I do remember some of the lasting effects, like Reaganomics and stuff like that. And I know he was a really likable guy. I've heard a lot of his speeches, and a lot of his speeches really struck home and were just golden, right? And but as far as 2A, as far as pro-gun or 2A, like, he definitely doesn't seem to have a good track record at all.
No, and I've said that a couple of times, and people find it hard to believe, but that's the freaking case. Reagan was not a good pro 2A president. Uh, did he help the country? Absolutely. You know, Clinton got
Well, he
lion's
defeated the
share.
Russians. He won the Cold War. He brought down the wall. I mean, he did do a lot. Like I mean, he really did. He definitely was a good president. But you're exactly right. He was not a good 2A president.
Uh, you know, Clinton gets credit for what Reagan did quite a bit, especially from the libs, but that whole Reaganomics thing worked fairly well. You know, and believe me, I turned 19 years old when Reagan was elected. So I'm just getting into the world of politics. And I fucking hated Reagan because I come from a poor family. And Reaganomics, the poor families are the ones that his ideas get to last. You know, that whole damn trickle down bullshit at the time is what I thought. Uh, would help the top classes first. And I was really opposed to that because I was young and dumb. I didn't realize that it's helping businesses free up capital so they can hire more. You know, I'm just seeing what they're talking, rich people getting breaks. Uh, but by the time of his second term, I had already figured most of that shit out. Even though the Reaganomics was not working very well in this area, anytime
Well,
through the 80s.
yeah, and I've heard that before. Areas like Detroit and stuff like that, it didn't work out so well for places like that, right?
Probably the thing that helped us the most was electing Governor Jim Edgar, and he come in and laid down a flat 10% cut across the board of everything. Every fucking state program in existence got a 10% cut, and we got out of debt. Was it hard? Yeah, because a lot of poor people had to go out of their way to get help. You know, shit, how do I describe this? You know, hospitals are required to provide emergency service, but a lot of hospitals will also do it just they'll provide service and not require payment if you're poor. But back then it wasn't so common. So all the hospitals that would do it of their own accord stopped. And then just a few of the larger hospitals were still doing it for people. So you would have to go way the hell out of your way to find medical help, shit like that. And yeah, it hurt. But what the hell are you going to do? I mean, if you're going to fix a fucking damaged economy, there's got to be belt tightening somewhere. And
No, you're exactly right.
just keep in mind what I just said and watch Illinois in the next dozen years. Because Pritzker and the Democratic Congress here are doing exactly the opposite of what I'm talking about. They're increasing the taxes as much as they possibly freaking can here. Now, I don't know. I don't see the state improving much under this. Although I won't care because they're legalizing weed and I'm just going to go through life high.
All right, so I got another thing kind of talking about talking about taxes. You mentioned that. So it goes like this. So it says income tax. You worked and someone paid you. I'll need to take 30 to 50% of that. Sales tax. Oh, you would like to spend some of the income that we let you keep on goods? I'll have to charge you an extra 5 to 10% for that. Property tax. Oh, you managed to save up enough money to get yourself a little property? Better than paying rent? Well, you will need to fork over a couple thousand for that privilege. Capital gains. Oh, you invested in a 401k to avoid taxes? While we thank you for putting your money into our financial casino, we will unfortunately have to take 30% of your gains. Inheritance tax. You lived a good life, Anon. You made it to the end. You worked hard and saved some money to give to your kids, but we will need to take a piece of that too for the good of society, you know?
Well, Illinois is going quite beyond that. They're doubling our driver's license fee, which I don't fucking remember what it was, but it's like $30. They're adding 50% onto our license plate sticker, which probably costs them a dime to make. They're raising that to $150. The buck tax on cigarettes, buck tax on a pack of cigarettes, and that's just what I know of.
Here, I think the tax on cigarettes is like 50, almost 50%, like 45% or something.
What does a pack of cigarettes cost?
$6.25 for a cheap pack, and maybe like $7.50 for like a normal brand.
Yeah, we're right at $7 now for Marlboros, which is the name brand. But it's going to go up to 8 here July 1st.
So I also have another announcement I'd like to make. As more of you guys are traveling out, getting out into the woods, getting out into the country, it is tick season. Whether you're hunting deer, rabbit, whatever, coyote, whether you're just out camping in the forest, hiking, be mindful of the ticks and the diseases that they bring. If you haven't researched Lyme disease, you should, and look at the warning signs, the little bullseye that can appear on your skin, and you want to get treated as soon as possible for that. It's also a good idea to look up how to remove a tick properly, because removing a tick.
Flea and tick collar and put it on. Shit.
Yeah. Well, and that's another thing for your pets too, right? That's something you want to be mindful for your pets if you live in a wooded area or stuff like that, or if there might be mingling with a wild animal. I mean, you don't.
Public service announcement for those who are affected by gnats, which is a huge thing here right now. A 10% mixture of vanilla and water in a spray bottle when you squirt it on yourself will repel gnats. They don't like vanilla. It doesn't last too awful long, maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Because if it's warm and you're sweating, it just washes off. But it will stop them from buzzing your mug, which is the big bitch. You know, they try to fly in your eyes and your mouth and shit. So 10-to-1 mix of vanilla to water, or water to vanilla, I guess would be the say it. 10% vanilla in water will repel gnats. Doesn't do nothing for any other bugs I know of. So, you know, spray on your freaking Raid first. And then some vanilla on top of it.
That is a good tip. Now, gnats, like we don't have a lot of gnats here. We have the smaller ones that are even smaller that like hang around your house plants and stuff like that, right? If you have house plants inside your house, they like love that. And I can't remember what those little things are called, but you know which ones I'm talking about, Tony?
Do they bite?
I don't know. I don't know if they bite.
See, here we have buffalo gnats at this time of year. Plus, we have regular gnats too, but they're not near the problem. Buffalo gnats bite, and I think they're kind of a June through maybe August is their season, but they're really prevalent late May or June, like right now.
So
I got
one thing I'll say to get rid of those things is that that you're spraying on yourself that the vanilla. That's a great idea for inside your house. Like when you have house plants, there a lot of these things are completely attracted to water. Wiping up the water out of your sink with a towel, and not leaving water in the bottom of your sink, not leaving half cups of water out or water sources out, really helps with that. Putting a piece of clear cellophane over a glass of water and then poking a tiny little hole in the top of it seems to work really, really good. Like they can find their way into that glass, and for some reason they can't seem to find their way out, and then they just all end up floating in the glass. And then the other thing is, I believe all my wife does for our house plants is I think it's just dish soap and water is what she sprays the house plants with, and they don't like that at all.
I can tell you something else that works, but you have to plan for it. That's if you have spiders in your house. If you can find the fruit of an Osage orange tree, otherwise known as hedge apples, you can stick one of those in a discrete area of your place, and spiders will go away. And
Now,
I've seen it happen.
now say that again, Tony.
If you take a hedge apple or the fruit from an Osage orange tree, depending on where you're at and what you want to call it, put it in your house, like in a discreet corner or somewhere where it's kind of out of sight, but in a room that's got a problem with spiders, it will run them off. Damnedest thing I ever seen, too.
Now, why is that? Is that just because of a smell or what? Like, is that
I,
poisonous to them or?
I honestly have no idea. But I do
'Cause,
know
yeah,
that
I hate spiders. I don't like spiders. I like, and now is the Osage orange? Is that the green looking like thing that looks weird? Like it looks like an alien fruit or something?
yep,
Okay,
about
I know
size of softball.
I know what you're talking about. Do people even eat those? Are those edible? Like I don't even know like what those are.
They're edible, but they're not all that palatable. I
So
looked
that
up something on YouTube about them, how to cook them and shit like that. I ain't interested in that. But the whole spider thing, yeah, I seen that work here in our house. Now it could have been coincidence. Something else drove spiders off, but I don't think so. Because as soon as the Osage apples started to rot and got thrown away, we started to have spiders again. And then, there's not that many of them left because hell, it was like 3 months.
So, get another message here from Beto O'Rourke, a 2020 Democratic presidential candidate. You know who he is, Beto O'Rourke?
Yeah.
So, he put out a message saying, I don't know that we should raise the age for buying an AR-15. I just don't think we should be selling AR-15s in this country. So, keep that in mind for that presidential candidate. That he definitely wants to take your AR-15.
Now, I've mentioned this particular train of thought before, but if they ban the sale of those things 100% across the board, how many of those fuckers do they think is in this country already?
Oh, I mean, just during Obama, they sold millions and millions, right? Like, I mean, gosh, just, and then the Hillary and Trump election, millions and millions. I mean, just, man, like, and then all the 80 percenters that people can easily build nowadays with the awesome jigs and just you don't need like you don't need a whole mill and lathe. Like you just literally need something as like a wood router, right? That you can buy for like $60 at Home Depot or something, and
Now,
you could do professional type work.
can you build a 22 rimfire out of a regular lower?
Oh yes, you can, and that's the preferred way to do it. I think that is the preferred way to do it instead of buying a proprietary lower that's all thinner or that doesn't take the standard parts. So those are going to cost like way more, money if you want to replace something. You're going to have fewer options on what trigger you can put into them. A lot of them take like a skinnier type magazine because the whole lower is just slightly different. It's not, to scale almost of a standard AR-15. So I built a dedicated rimfire AR-15 using just a standard upper, lower, and then literally the only change is just mags, the barrel, and the bolt, and then everything else was just standard AR-15, and that's my favorite one, you know. But if you're looking to buy one just off the shelf, like it's hard to beat that M&P 1522, Tony.
If I buy one off the shelf, it'd be either Smith & Wesson or Ruger.
Yeah, the Smith & Wesson M&P 1522, fantastic gun. Oh boy, I like it better than the Ruger 1022s. I really do. I think it is awesome. Like right out of the box, they are just golden guns. They really are.
Yeah, my daughter's got one, and it's fine. I mean, I have not ever seen it have a problem. Now, I've not been around it a hell of a lot shooting. I think 3 times it's been to the range with us, and I have never touched it. Yeah, I really ain't interested in it. But if she's going to move away, I would still like to have the ability to show people that this is just a freaking gun like any other gun. Just looks a little different.
Yeah, like Bob from Canada would say, it's just a tiny little bullet. It's made for varmint hunting. I mean, come on, it's not even. It's made for killing squirrel. It's not even it's like the least deadly gun there is.
Although I might get it all dressed up in my freaking digital camo, since I got some here, and go down to the woods and hunt squirrel with it once. Just try to freak people out.
You're too old for that. They're just going to see you, Tony, and be just like, oh, okay, we don't got to worry about him.
Yeah, I know.
Old guys aren't scary to people. I
was just being a smart ass there. I wouldn't do that. I have wore the digital camo, but it doesn't work in the woods very well. From what I can tell, the animals just see a big blob of gray. The old woodland stuff, if you look at the military, back in the Vietnam era, is more effective, and mossy oak or how's the other one, tree bark, those are good. But you have to be mindful of your situation. If you're in mossy oak, you don't really want to be standing in a fucking pine forest and hide.
I have some factory camo guns that have like the mossy oak or what's the real tree camos? Yeah, and stuff like that.
I have no preference to one over the other. I'm absolutely fine with the old freaking jungle camo the military used. You're just trying to break up your outline.
Yeah, exactly. That's I'm not too worried about what the name is or really how it's done or whatnot. I think just the whole exactly breaking up that whole outline is just really the key, right?
Now, with the more modern stuff that has all the leaf type things cut into it to where it flows in the breeze, if you're trying to stalk, that's probably the best choice. because you know, not everything's moving at once because of the way them lead thingies work. And it would make you a little more difficult to see, but you're still, you know, you have to be fucking quiet. And you have to move pretty slow. And that's to fool a fucking squirrel. You know, something that's got a more survival instinct like a deer or something would be even tougher to sneak up on. Although I've walked up on them in the forest while squirrel hunting. I've been within like 30 feet of a deer, but I was in camo and I don't think the deer saw me because she was facing away from me. But when she saw me, she was fucking gone. Or when she heard me, I should say. How did we get here?
Oh, that's just the nature of the beast, Tony. That's just how it happens.
Usually when I take it off the rails, I got a plan. I even thought about buying a Gahuli suit and making it match the forest that I hunt in. But man, I can't imagine how hot that would be in August. The long sleeve camo t-shirt's hot enough. Well, that's something else. If your camo's faded, you take it out of the hunting rotation because it's not doing what it's supposed to when it's faded. And that, I think, is the big problem with the digital camo. They come out looking faded.
Yeah, they do, don't they? They kind of
Yes.
do. Have you ever seen how they camoed ships back in like World War II?
I have seen some of it, and it's some
Weird.
of what I saw was, yeah.
Like totally weird, outlandish, great big triangles and bright colors and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
they figured out that if they made something just look like so outlandish and so out of the normal, people would bypass it right up because they're specifically looking, like the submarine guys are specifically looking for the outline of a ship, right? And they would just like their brain wouldn't even comprehend these weird abstract paint jobs. And
Yeah, I seen one that was, I don't know if the ship was painted white or light gray, but it was a light color and then it had big black zigzag up and down the whole side of the damn ship. And I'm like, how in the hell is that camouflage? Now, they never did mention in that video that that's how it worked, that they would just ignore it because it don't look like a ship, military ship. But hey,
so it just goes to show you don't necessarily have to blend in with the actual color of your background necessarily perfectly, at least. I mean,
tell
just
you for
really
sure,
breaking up the outline, right?
up until 2 years ago, I didn't use camo. I was always out there with flannel shirts on, you know, just a kind of a dull red, or I have an orange one that is pretty good for fall. I cannot ever manage to buy a green one, and that's what I used to use. I had a green one. Every time I go to buy a green one, they're sold out. But for snow, I've got a black and white one. And, you know, and like I say, it's to break the pattern up.
Calaveras out there says that when they are running in convoys, they act like zebras and hard to tell from one another. So maybe it's to, hide like which is the valuable ship to hit, like what's the most valuable target, right?
I don't know. It really doesn't make sense thinking from the human eye and camouflage perspective. You know, my choice would be to paint that some bitch sky blue and then ocean green. But I don't know. Evidently, it works.
Let's see. Also out there we have Ozzy Osbourne says hedge apples do work against spiders. Also helps drive away mice. I put them in my camper when it's in storage.
Thanks for the backup, Mikey.
Patrick says Beto O'Rourke out there is a fake Mexican, real pendejo. Calavera says at Tony York, we are all on YouTube. You should know that you can't trust everything you find on here. And let's see here. Illinois is going to be another Detroit. Ozzy says that.
Well, Ozzy's in the real ballsy county of this state. They're the ones that started this sanctuary county thing, and now they're doing something else. And I can't remember what the hell it is. I don't know. Are they the one county that's wanted to boot Chicago? I don't know. I have to ask Mike.
Woods out there says that we can't get people to show up to rallies. There's not going to have a civil war. So that is a good point. If people can't even show up for a rally to protect their rights, like, man, are they going to get out of there and fight for them?
I don't know, because when they start in each town, are the people of the town going to say, and I don't think so. You know, it's not really a civil war, because it's not, you know, there's not a country dividing away from the United States to fight them. Do I think a lot of people will fight back? Yeah, I do. There are a certain number of us that are completely willing to die for the 2A rights, if it comes to that. But I'm not going to actively seek out my death either. If they come to my house, I don't know. I say that I would die for them here, but until it happens, I don't know. You know, hell, I may drop dead of a fucking heart attack when they knock on the door.
Right. Let's see. That's all the 2A news I have for today. Would you like to throw out your email out there again, if or did you have anything come into the email?
Not show related, no. The email to reach me is earlywatchil, all lowercase, @gmail.com. If you have suggestions for the show, stuff you want to see us talk about, if you'd like to get on the show, just email me and I'll see if I can make it happen.
And any 2A news whatsoever that's going on in your local area, or anything that we might have missed. I mean, lots of 2A news comes through in city, county, and state levels that is really easy for us to miss, whether we're looking for it or not. If we're, on the other side of the country, we can easily miss important topics and what's going on in other states. So we definitely want to hear about that. If something's going on in your area, in your state, your county, your city, you would like us to bring up and talk about, please send that info to us so we can get that out there and spread that message. So, we have to be able to communicate. We have to be able to work together to defeat these, and we need everyone behind us, all these gun owners, everyone, against every state, every county, every city that's trying to pass anti-gun laws. That's the only way we're really going to win, is we can't just let this city or this county or this state fight it on their own. We need to start coming together as a country and making our voice heard. There was some really good suggestions in the Daily Gun Show chat last night on how to accomplish some things like that, and how to voice our opinions on anti-gun states, like maybe letting Disney know, like, hey, just so you know, I really wanted to take my kids to Disneyland, but because of the anti-gun laws, I can't protect my family, I'm forced to take my family somewhere else on vacation this year. And, maybe if enough people let big businesses know like that, and they actually saw a loss of income, and that might do something. I mean, those businesses like Disney, I mean, I'm sure they have a lot of pull in California, right? I'm sure they have a lot more pull than just like, the average guy does. So if we started voicing our things in tourism, and start saying like, hey, like if I can't go there and bring my gun and protect my family, I'm not going to travel to your state. I'm not going to spend tourism dollars, stuff like that. I thought those were all very, very good points. Anyone who missed the Daily Gun Show last night should probably go back and watch it today. It was an excellent show last night. Um, had a lot of good suggestions on how we can help each other out, help out other states that are under attack and whatnot. And the thing about it is that some of us, we're living in pro-gun states and we're not under attack. We're sitting on our thumbs right now watching these other states go down the drain. So, let's think of it as practice, right? So let's start practicing for it before it comes to your state. So help California out, help Washington, help Oregon, help New York, help Illinois, help Massachusetts, and all the other states that are having a bunch of anti-gun legislations shoved down their throat almost on a daily basis, it seems right now. And I really think if we come together as a country and really attack them from multiple angles, multiple organizations, we support our GOA, we support our FBC, we support our, even our NRA. We need to come at them from multiple angles. We need to voice it heard, but in the end, it all needs to be the same message. Don't mess with my Second Amendment rights.
Yes. A side note on the early watch thing, emails. All you guys out there that have early watch, whatever, at gmail.com accounts representing your state, you need to send stuff to the early watch IL account, not the regular early watch account. I don't have access to that one. So if you have something you want to share, please send it to earlywatchil@gmail.com. And anybody who's wanting to represent their state in this, they can get a early watch at the abbreviation for your state at gmail.com. If there's not one, if somebody else has done it, then it won't be available. And if somebody hasn't done it, you can do it. And we'd like to get all 50 states so we can have a little bit easier time keeping track of more that's going on.
And then there can be multiple in that state, right? There can be multiple early watches even within one state, right?
But to be part of what we was doing, it'll be the early watch. In my case, it's IL, but there's an early watch Missouri and Kansas and Michigan, and I believe South Carolina and North Carolina. And there's a couple more I don't remember. Jimmy took care of all that when he was doing this. So again, you need to send it to me at earlywatchil@gmail.com.
So yeah, we got Early Watch California, Early Watch Ohio, Early Watch Kansas, Early Watch Missouri, Early Watch Connecticut, Early Watch Michigan, Early Watch Arizona, Early Watch Minnesota, Early Watch Wisconsin, Early Watch IL, Early Watch Texas, Early Watch Florida, Early Watch Nation, and Early Watch Utah. So that's the list I have. So we appreciate all those people. I do go and look on these pages and check on these pages. Some are definitely more active and proactive about this than others, and some of them have kind of dropped off since Jimmy dropped off. And we do have hopes for Jimmy coming back. The way I think of myself doing this early watch is I'm just a substitute teacher or whatnot. I'm just a substitute guy. I have full intention that when Jimmy comes back, of handing the reins back over to him. And I just didn't want to see early watch die. And Jimmy had been gone long enough that that's what I was seeing happen is people stop posting on their early watch Instagrams and stop that. And I didn't want to see it die. And that's the real reason I brought it back. And I have full intention of handing these reins back over to him. Because boy, would I like to be sleeping in right now.
Uh, we certainly appreciate what you're doing too. I do, sure.
And but we definitely want Jimmy back. I'm actually in the process of trying to make a little something. So I've never asked for money or Patreon or anything like that. But I'm in the process of almost starting up a decent actual, I guess, content creator gun channel. I almost have all my ducks in a row right now with my gun room and with my camera. I'm in the process of setting up something good, and then when I set up my Patreon, I'm going to direct all that flow at Jimmy and try and set up a Patreon basically in his name and direct everyone over there and support Jimmy and help enable Jimmy to come back and run this because, let's admit it, Jimmy and Tony were the absolute great duo. It was absolutely awesome to listen to these guys every single morning. I know I sure do miss it. And I know I don't do Jimmy any justice whatsoever trying to run this. But, Jimmy and Tony were really, really good at this. I really miss it. And the goal is to get Jimmy into a place where he can come back. And that's at least my goal.
That whole Jimmy and Tony thing was just absolutely dumb, blind fucking luck.
Oh, it was great. Absolutely. You guys, the way you guys bounced off each other, it was absolutely just golden, dude. I appreciated every single minute of it. I miss it to death. I miss Jimmy. I miss you guys, just talking every morning. I miss the real early watch. I really do. I want it to come back, and that's my goal in this is I want to get to a place to where we can get Jimmy to come back full time or even part time, even one day a week. I don't care. I'll settle for anything, but I want to get Jimmy back involved in this when he's actually able to, and and help support him in the early watch. And that's what I really want to happen. So that's the whole goal of this right now is just to not let early watch die and not let it be forgotten until we can get into a position to get Jimmy back here.
Oh, and I'm certain that many, many others appreciate what you're doing here, Dead Horse.
Oh yeah, and if you appreciate what I'm doing, then let's help support Jimmy. Like I said, as soon as I start this up, I probably have another couple weeks before I get my mic and before I finish my gun room. It's coming along really, really good right now. I'm getting like very, very close. Like I can taste it. I'm like almost there. I'm so close. And as soon as that's set up and I have a little bit more professional of a setup, I am going to start doing high quality content videos.
What kind of
I don't know. See, I haven't decided yet. I don't know about this stuff. So I have to literally dig into it and research every little thing because I don't want to just go out and buy some random thing off Amazon and have it and waste $100 on something that's not going to work, right? So I've been asking people. I've been asking, just everyone that I know that uses an external mic, like, what are you using? Especially if they have good audio, especially if I'm watching their videos and they're like, oh, I have really good audio. Like right now, I just used a built-in mic on the laptop,
Here, I'm using a Shure SM58, but that wouldn't be so good for videos because you really have to be up to the mic for it to hear you. But I do have a number of active mics here, and I would send you one if that's the route you're going.
Well, and someone was telling me that I need to get a soundboard type thing, or not a soundboard. What
Right. Well, it's
mixer,
board,
or was it a
mic mixer board? Yeah. Hell, I got one of those too.
And I don't even know how that stuff works, dude. Like, I don't even know. Like, it's all just Chinese to me. I have no idea. Like, it's a whole learning. I have to basically learn all this because I've never played around with mics or mixers or I have no experience in that. So this is a whole new learning process. Even like the whole video camera thing is a whole learning process to me.
what the mixer does is allow you to have more than one mic or audio.
Well,
source.
don't people like tone their voices with them too and stuff like that?
You can, I suppose. Mine is fully tone controllable, and hell, I even got effects on mine. You put reverb or anything like that on it.
Because I'm told that my computer microphone thing here that's built in my laptop makes my voice sound way higher than I guess it is, and at least a couple octaves higher than what it really is, and it just doesn't do I guess my voice or audio any kind of justice whatsoever. And I've had many people tell me like, you need to lose that mic, you need to quit losing that. It sounds really bad.
I didn't think too much about it until I went over to the daughter's house and was using my freaking tablet to get on here, and everybody bitched about how shitty it sounds. So I come over here and got my computer and took it over there and started using this Shure again. But if you opt to go with the mixer and it's capable of putting out the voltage for an what do they call it? I think it's active microphone. I'll send you one. I got several.
Okay. And I have one more thing before we go off, and this is coming from Early Watch, California. The CRPA ammo regulations webinar is June 26th at 12 p.m. This is a repost from CRPA.org. So I guess that's CRPA.org. So join the CRPA and the NRA for a webinar discussion regarding the upcoming California Department of Justice ammo background checks. This informational webinar is scheduled for June 26th at noon. Spots are limited, so sign up today. So this is a webinar, so this apparently takes place over the internet. I'm assuming that's what a webinar is, right?
I'd say, yeah.
I guess, like, yeah, I'm not one of these internet savvy guys, so I just use this thing. I don't know how all these tubes work. I know tubes are going here and there, but yeah, it sounds like this is something you can sign up for. It doesn't say that it costs any money or anything, so I'm not sure if there's a charge on this. But if you're interested about the California Department of Justice ammo background checks and the information dealing with that, which is just a shame having to do a background check just for ammo when you just But June 26th at noon, spots are limited. Sign up. The link to that's over on Early Watch CA, all one word, Early Watch CA, over on Instagram.
So a little bit more on that. I was in a conversation in the past couple of days where somebody said that if you had not got your gun permit, whatever the hell you got to have to in California to buy one, within the past 6 months, everybody else was going to get denied the first time. I don't know how true it is, but it doesn't surprise me. And it's like, it costs like $20 the first time and then $1 thereafter. I'm assuming thereafter, meaning the second time you try to get your background check done. I mean, you start digging into this shit, and it's really heinous what they're doing. But
and when you start digging into it more, that they have direct correlations, that there's a reason what they're doing because they have a vested interest in it when it comes to making money or profit. And it's you got to kind of go down the rabbit hole a little bit, but then when you find out that they're either heavily invested in privatized prisons, or they're heavily invested in this or that, or the company that that sells the food to the jail or whatnot. But when you actually start going down the rabbit hole on a lot of these people instituting these anti-gun laws, they make money off of it. That's the thing. And a lot of these so-called anti-gun politicians, they're not anti-gun. They want guns. They want their bodyguards to have guns. They don't want you to have guns because they want to make you a criminal for it so they can either imprison you or fine you or charge you or tax you for either state or city or county revenue. Whatever the reason, if it's not money going directly into their pocket, it's going into the state infrastructure. They're trying to make money off of it.
When you
So,
discuss the why there, you left out the most important one and the reason that the Second Amendment exists. When they try, their reasoning is they want to be able to enforce their will over you.
yes, that is 100% true.
Yeah, I have enough to deal with here in Illinois that I haven't been paying that much attention to California over the past probably year. But I used to write letters opposing stuff to California, just trying to help. And I really need to get back into that. I'm gonna have
Well,
to
it's
have some-
hard when your own state's under constant attack, and it feels like you're working every day just to try and like save your own state. So that's totally understandable. That's why I was really trying to make it a point for us states that are not under attack right now, where we're just sitting on our thumbs. Like we're the ones. Like those guys in those states, they're working. They're trying to defend themselves right now, and they need our help. So while we're just sitting here on our thumbs, twiddling them, not doing shit, we need to be proactive. We need to be, just doing something that, like, I mean, how long does it take to send an email or make a phone call and say, hey, either like what you're doing or I don't like what you're doing? And I mean, it's like 5 minutes out of your day, right?
That's
Just
what
maybe once a week, 5 minutes out of one day, once a week is all we're asking. To send something to California or send something to Illinois, send something to Washington or Oregon.
That's what I'm getting at. I can surely squeeze out 5 to 15 minutes once in a while to do this. I haven't.
And it's hard, like, life happens and we have, everyone has different stuff going on in their life and we can't always stay up on this stuff. And, unfortunately, real life is a thing. And that, we have other things going on in our lives and we have kids, families, and, we got bills to pay and we got work and we got so much other stuff going on. But, really, if you can just find the time to take 5 minutes out of your day and write that pro-gun sheriff that's not going to enforce the laws in Washington, or give him a call, or whether you're, sending a letter to the California DOJ or to the whoever in California, or maybe just saving up a couple extra bucks. Like I said, you don't buy your Starbucks for 2 times that month, and for 2 days that month you don't buy your Starbucks coffee, and you join the FPC or the GOA or another gun rights group, right? And that's actually putting the money to really good use.
I'd say I would suggest people that are hampered in time that they put together a form letter to start with. You have one for I approve of what you're doing, one for I disapprove, and leave the whatever it is that they're doing blank. So you just fill that in, send it.
That is a great idea. Maybe that's something we could collaborate on with some people, and we could make one of those that we could just put out there to people, right? And then I bet you someone's already done that. I mean, this is the internet. I mean, I bet you if we look, we could probably find a lot of blank letters like that where most of the body in context is kind of filled in, and we just have to add a couple little parts and just basically copy and paste at that point.
All these organizations that we're saying you should join, they all send them out to us. You just have to copy and paste all the text and start it. I would use Notepad, but whatever word processing software you got, put it in there and make it to where it's able to be changed so you can identify what particular event that you're approving or disapproving of. I have done that a few times. Mostly it was to send something to my senator, Dick Durbin, about his view on something elsewhere. And I honestly I can't remember what it was, but he was voting against some, and I'm guaranteeing you, it's gun control of some sort. He was voting against. May have been silencers, whatever the hell it was. And I wrote him. I took a form letter that I found on something else, and I changed it to fit what I needed and sent it to him. And my hard drive crashed the other day, and I don't have that shit anymore. But
Well,
yeah, we can collaborate on something if you want. I'm sure there's somebody out there that's good at it.
oh, definitely. I think that should be a real thing. I think we should definitely look into that. And I mean, I definitely, especially with how things change and new things are coming up, and people are going to have different ideas. People are going to say, "Hey, we should word it like this, word it like that." So when we get a bunch of like-minded people together that come from different backgrounds, places, and stuff, especially people who are not only well-educated but well-spoken, and there's some people like me. I don't have, I'm not no poet. I can't. I'm not very good at the whole communication thing. So, definitely having people who are good at that come and help, it would be much appreciated.
Something else that I discovered a couple years ago, and I haven't ever brought it up because it never crossed my mind. Here in Illinois, and I'm sure that it's in other states too, when they have these boats, you can get online and you can go to the site and you can register a roll call slip, an attendance slip saying you were there and you opposed. So, and that actually does seem to have some weight. I don't know why, but check if your state does that and keep an eye on that too. When they come up, they got stuff coming up. Do the roll call slip.
I don't even I know if I've ever even heard of that, Tony.
That's why I'm putting it out here. I'm sure that it's not singularly Illinois' thing.
Well, and with that, do you have any shout outs or anything to throw out there, Tony? You have anything else might be coming up or anything?
The Daily Lobby with Knives Host is on now. I'm going to go to as soon as I leave here. And tonight, Rick's Life is, I see it, Shooting with Disabilities is on. And I think it starts at 5 Central. But I don't know. You can look it up.
So we have Rick's Life with Shooting and the Disabled at 7 p.m. Eastern, which would be
6 p.m. Central.
6 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Mountain, or 4 p.m. Pacific. We have Never Enough Ammo, Guns and Politics tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. And then, of course, we have the Daily Gun Show at midnight Eastern Time. And I want to say there was something else that's going on tonight. Can't remember what it was. I think someone else might have a show, so you might want to just keep an eye over there on gun channels. And I think there's another show tonight between Rick's and Never Enough Ammo there, I want to say.
Need to message G-Webs and have him put the early watch back on the header.
I think that's my fault. I need to I think I can go into the live schedule and then put up the info, and then he just copies and pastes or whatever, right? So I think that's my bad that I haven't done that. I think I need to look into doing that, but I think that's up to I think if you want to be in the schedule, then you actually have to take it upon yourself to go fill out the application, so to speak, or whatever you want to call it, but you got to go fill out that information so he knows, like, oh, this is the information that they want up there, right? And the times and the days and whatnot. So, so he can't read my mind necessarily on, like, oh, like, when are you doing the show, what days you do the show, da da da. So I think that's my bad that I haven't done that. So I'll definitely look into doing that and get that done. And we will be back with Early Watch tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern. And let's see here. And
one last thing I want to get out there. If anybody would like to host this on Tuesdays, please contact Dead Horse, and we'll make that happen.
yeah, or Tony. Yeah, contact me or Tony. And definitely on Tuesdays right now, I can't pass it up. I get an entire range to myself. And I just really can't pass up that opportunity right now. Just to be able to go shoot alone and just, like, it's just wonderful experience. So Tuesdays right now is kind of like my shooting day and my day of Zen. And so definitely, if anyone would like to be a guest host on Tuesdays, definitely hit one of us up. We can definitely work something out. We would love to have you come fill that spot on Tuesdays. I'm sure Tony would love to hop in with you and make something click. And then for all I know, like, you and Tony will click it off, and you'll do a way better job than me. And I'm totally okay with that.
Yeah, I just wanted to toss that out there.
No, thank you. Yeah.
Somebody will be adventurous. Give it a shot.
Yeah.
I
And
won't
if
bite.
you've never done this before, like, man, let us show you how. Let us help you. It's really not that hard. It's of course it might be a little nervous and confusing, and like, if you've never done, like, the internets and live chats and stuff like that before, but don't be afraid to give it a shot. You have tons of people here to help you, not only with your own YouTube channel and your own content creation, but we have really, really good people who have been doing this for a long, long time that are really willing to share their insight and knowledge and help you out and help you be successful. Especially people like Ghost and Clover and guys like that are really doing a good job putting out solid content, and who are really sharing the in and outs of, everything from, like, oh, what mic or what cameras, like, the stuff they're using and what seems to work and what doesn't. I mean, they really go down the rabbit hole on, like, on every detail almost. So there's definitely a lot of good information out there. So don't be afraid to throw your hat in the ring, and yeah.
Yes, it would be greatly appreciated. I would like to do this every day of the week, about weekends, every weekday, I should say.
All right, and with that, thank you everybody for tuning in. We appreciate you guys listening to the Early Watch, and we will be back tomorrow morning.
Good day, everybody.
Just a good old boy, never meaning no harm. They told you never saw been in trouble with the law since the day they was born.